obviously the SNP took the decision in this election to place independence at the front and centre of its campaign. Was that a mistake?
Well, no, I mean, it's never a mistake for the Party of Independence to put independence at the front and centre of its campaign. I think what the problem here is that in the 10 years since the independence referendum, not enough thought has been given to how we make the case for independence and win over those who don't support it or who are undecided and in the middle. And not enough thought has been given to developing the strategy for the delivery of independence. And of course, when the SNP does best and when the cause of independence rides high is when the SNP is governing competently and with integrity.
You're well aware that I've got the former First Minister sitting next to me here, and I don't want this to be awkward for any of us, but I guess I have to ask, who do you hold responsible for independence not being pursued in the way that you seem to be suggesting it should have been?
Well, it's always easy with the benefit of hindsight to see what has gone wrong, but there were of those of us in the party who argued for a different strategy at Westminster, for a different strategy during the Brexit years and for a different strategy towards independence. But let's just say our suggestions were not well received, and there was a lack of debate and a lack of discussion over policy and strategy in the party under both Nicola's leadership and under Ian Blackford's leadership at Westminster. And I think when the story of the Westminster group is written, it will be recognised and understood that that group was poorly led until Stephen Flynn came along, but Stephen didn't really have the time to turn things around, and that we missed some big opportunities when effectively we were pretty close to holding the balance of power during the Brexit years, during Theresa May's trials and tribulations. And we also failed to capitalise on the great victory that I won in the Supreme Court when Boris Johnson's prorogation of Parliament was ruled unlawful. So, as I say, it's always easy to criticise with the benefit of hindsight, but I think these policy failings and these strategic failings arose because of a style of leadership that didn't brook discussion, debate or argument. And I think that's been a big failing of the party. And what I think now the party has to do is the party has to honestly appraise what has gone wrong, because until we do that, until we address what's gone wrong and until we try to set it right, we're not going to reverse this setback for the SNP.
Joanna Cherry, thank you very much indeed for joining us. Nicola, I feel like I have to give you a right of reply there, because whether directly articulated or not, it felt like quite a lot of that was directed at you.
I don't think anybody who knows the SNP at all will be surprised.
No, I am.
One of my biggest critics, and has. Look, I'm not in the business tonight. You know, when the SNP suffered a pretty bruising result, to dismiss anybody's criticism, I think that would be foolish and the wrong thing to do. So we should all, take time to reflect and listen to different points of view. I mean, I would point out that Joanna's 3 election victories were all delivered under my leadership of the SNP, of course, but that's perhaps looking backwards rather than forwards. I mean, I've already said I think there is some, hard thinking for the SNP to do tonight, but, as we've been reflecting in relation to other parties, sometimes, you can, learn the wrong lessons from defeats, and I think there's a danger the SNP does that. I think we've got to think about the different aspects of this and pick ourselves up. I mean, one of the things at the heart of what Joanna was saying there is, like, we had this golden opportunity to win independence and we somehow just didn't take it. I tried very hard as SNP leader to progress the independence case and to find a route to allowing people to have to take that decision again. The problem we've got is that there is, with a Westminster undemocratic veto, the lack of a legal route at the moment. And there's no magic wand that can make that disappear. And what was perhaps missing from Joanna's interview there was any suggestion of how that should have been overcome. So that's one of the things the SNP's got to grapple with. Can I just say I'm sorry that Joanna's lost her seat. I'm sorry that every SNP defeated candidate tonight has lost. But we need to think carefully and learn the right lessons from this.
For one final point on this, I feel like this has turned into quite a lot tougher night for the SNP and perhaps for you than we thought at the start. And I'm assuming you can't fail to feel some responsibility for that. I mean, you were the leader for a long time. Maybe your supporters might say, well, it all fell apart after you left. I mean, your critics would say the reverse.
I think you know, often you find in these kind of positions, you're neither the hero that your biggest supporters revere you as, nor the villain that your critics sort of revile you as. I delivered 8 consecutive election victories for the SNP as leader, 3 general election victories. As part of that, I've not been leader now for more than a year. So I, as somebody who has been dominant in the SNP, not just as leader, but as deputy leader before that, of course I take responsibility or my share of responsibility for where the party is now. But I think for anybody in the current leadership to sort of take refuge in how it's somehow all my fault would be, not just because I think it would be unfair to me, that's by the by, that's not the issue here. I think it would just be, you know, taking the easy solution or response to this rather than looking seriously and hard at what the real issues are.
Very good.